Hey guys, after doing this race 2 other times prior to this and finishing 12th after running out of fuel on the final lap and finishing 8th on my second attempt, I gave it another shot this morning. The first attempt landed me in P2, and what I did different was I changed my strategy. Instead of anticipating the rain and switching to a wet tire, going to the intermediates, I decided to stay on the racing softs. The rain came about lap 6, I believe, and it stayed throughout the rest of the race, and I just stuck with sticking to the racing soft tires throughout the entire race. So when I pitted, I did pit and put another set of softs on the car. And then I just tried to make sure I didn't make too many mistakes. I did slide a couple of times and went off track a couple of times, and I think I got 1 second penalty for not going through a rouge properly. So we'll get on with it. in previous attempts at this challenge, it would normally start raining around lap 3 or lap 7. So on this one here, I was kind of watching the weather radar, and you can see the weather starting to come in on the weather radar. But when it looks like there's no rain, it's actually raining considerably. So I think it actually started, I think I'm going to correct myself here, I think it may have started on lap 4 or 5, not really lap 6. But what I did was I tried to minimize how much of the curbing I used when the rain started, or when the track started feeling like it had gotten wet. If you hit the curbing and it's wet, it normally sends the car flying off the track. Same thing if you hit some of the deep puddles, being on a racing slick tire. There's no way for the water to displace under the tire. So basically, when you stick to the racing tire instead of going to a wet, you really need to rely on the downforce of the car to really make the car stick. And as we can see here, we're on lap 3 and it's starting to rain already. At this point, I thought it was raining, but I wasn't 100% certain, so I was just being more cautious on the curbs, and trying not to stay on them, trying to avoid them as much as I could. So yeah, here we are, lap 5. It's raining pretty good now. Lap 3, it kind of started, wasn't too heavy, was like sporadic. Lap 4 started earlier in the lap, but now by lap 5, it's fully raining. And yeah, the tires are wearing out, so we're going to do our best to stay on track and just make it to the pit stop. Just trying to get as many overtakes done as possible as well, and continue on the lap, and hopefully we can get into a position where we can get P1. Yeah, consequence of that left front tire being just about dead, just went into the gravel trap there. But we're going to try to push on. I mean, we didn't crash, and that's a big thing. Crashing takes, you lose more time with a crash, so just trying to push on it and have a better lap and try to do the best we can. So with the AI pitting now, I decided to stay out for another lap, and hopefully I don't regret my decision. I was kind of fighting with myself with the idea of staying on the softs or switching to an intermediate when I come in to pit on the next lap. One downside to staying out for another lap is that's another lap's worth of fuel that's going to be burned off, because I also gave up on trying to fuel save. I mean, there's times where I do go into a lower engine management setting, but that's more for traction rather than fuel saving. So yeah, let's push on and see what ends up happening. So yeah, P3, 6.5 seconds behind first place, and you know, less than 3 seconds behind P2. So let's push on and, you know, see what we can get. If we can get into a position to overtake and get the race lead, then that's great. If not, I just wasted my time. So yeah, now the rain is definitely getting harder. The car was just getting a lot more slidey right there. You know, we're on dead tires that are, you know, 6 laps old. They're not sticking like they should, but we're trying to, you know, push on and do what we can. And here we go, we're off the track again. But you know, we didn't bottle it, we didn't hit the wall, so we're still good. We're good to go. So let's go on and see where we can go. Does the overcut work or what? Yeah, so we're gonna have to put in at least 4 or 5 laps of fuel to finish the race with. So you know, we're gonna do what we can. So after the final chicane, here we go. Get into the pits. We're gonna go. Still not sure if I was gonna put on intermediates or stick with the softs. So as you can see, I stuck with the softs. So now, you know, let's change the tires and get some fuel in this baby and push on with the race. You know, again, I haven't been fuel saving, so I went with putting 5 laps of fuel in it just to make sure I had enough fuel to push in case the track did dry out and we could really push. But you know, it never stops raining in this race after it started. And right there, I just messed up. I'm going to get a 1-second penalty for the way I went through on Rouge, because I went off track. I should have maybe gave a little lift to keep the car stable, but I didn't, and I just tried to push through it and ended up going off track. So now it appears the rest of the AI is going into the pits, and the race leaders are now pitting and going on to intermediates. So we went from 38 seconds behind to now 10 seconds behind, and so we're going to continue on. We're trying to get as many overtakes done as possible on each lap, and hopefully we can get race win finally, and you know, just do the best we can. I will say the dynamic weather in this has produced a different race each time I've tried this, depending on the day. So the other day when I did this, the weather kept changing at the same exact time each time. Some guys that do this race turn around and they say that if you back out and go back into it, eventually you'll get a race that there's no rain. I have not experienced that. I did try it one Saturday morning. I gave it a shot, and each time the rain came, I would back out of it, but each time we would go back into the race, the rain would start at exactly the same lap. So on that day, on Saturday, it would start on lap 5 or lap 6. That's not the case today, as it started on lap 3, lap 4. The other day when I first tried it, it was on lap 1. That was on the first day I tried it. Another time I tried it, it was on lap 9. It started and it caught me out. I mean, I slid completely off the track on that one. So here we are, lap 8. We're going through Blanchemont. We're in P5, and we're less than 3 seconds away from P1. All we got to do is just make it through this without bottling it, without binning it, without going off track. So here we are. We're right next to P4, coming into the final chicane. So on the binders, trying to slow the car down. We get it slowed down. We left room on the outside for him, and we take P3 just like that. Of course, 2 cars did go into the pits, and well, 3 cars into the pits, and it looks like they're going to be switching off to intermediates as well. So that leaves me up in P3 with the BMW and the Mazda with 2 laps to go. So they're pulled away from me a little bit. I'm struggling with the source, but let's see where we end up with this. So the rain's coming down pretty heavy again. I'm doing everything I can to let the car's aerodynamics work to my advantage of keeping the car on track and working properly. So here we are going into the final chicane once again, and let's see how we do. Alright, so here we are, final lap. P2 and P3 go into the pits, I guess for a tire stop or more fuel. The only thing I have to do at this point is just finish this lap without bottling it and just hold on to P1. Looks like we got a decent head start, a decent lead at 12 seconds ahead of P2 at this point. So I'm going through here, a little lift here, a little lift there. through on Rouge so as to not get any penalties. The other thing I'm also going to stress to myself is to just keep it off the curbs. Don't hit the curbs because it is raining heavier, and the harder it rains, the less grip the car's going to have, obviously. So again, we're still on a full race tire. We're not on a wet tire. So I'm doing the best I can to just let the car just work itself through the corners, and you know, just try to get it slowed down in time to make the corner, not go off track, not get any penalties for any reason. Here we are going through No Name, and you know, we're just doing the best we can to hang on to this race lead. Finally, it's looking promising, so we'll see where we end up. Alright, so we made it through Blanchemont, and now we're coming into the final chicane. All we have to do is make it through this chicane and cross the finish line. We got this race win. You know, there we go. We made it around the final corner. We just got to cross the finish line and we got the win.
It might be.